when I hear the bagpipe, it feels like one of those, the little scalp tickler things.
What's up, posers? Welcome to Punk Lotto Pod. I'm your co-host, Justin Hensley.
I am your other co-host, Dylan Hensley.
And we are flying solo this week. No guests that we could trick into doing another gimmick episode. In celebration? I don't know. Of St. Patrick.
In honor? In
recognition. Because I don't know that we're going to be very honorable today.
In an acknowledgement of a holiday.
Yes, St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner. We thought we would devote an entire episode to one of the stranger corners of punk rock.
You thought that we should devote an entire episode.
Yeah, got it.
I tried to back out of it. I want it on the record. I objected to this Donnybrook.
We are talking about Celtic punk. I don't understand Celtic punk in all reality.
Yeah.
Why does it exist?
The Pogues?
Why is it one of the most standout subgenres of punk? Like nobody gives a shit about cowpunk, you know? Can you even name a cowpunk band?
The Meat Puppets?
Are they?
Yeah.
Sure, okay. Like,
X was sort of considered cowpunk a little bit.
that's because Billy Zoom actually played in rockabilly bands. John Doe essentially is a country musician, especially his solo work. Yeah, Celtic punk along with, I guess, like horror punk and, folk punk? I don't know, folk punk doesn't have such a, distinct or specific sound. Basically, if you just use acoustic guitars, you can be considered folk punk. Horror punk, you have to sing about monsters and shit. And Celtic punk,
You sing about being Irish.
they all do that, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe I'm not familiar enough with Celtic music, but I feel like Celtic music in general just sings about being Irish a lot. Which I want to say that in terms of traditional Celtic music, I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Being, largely an oppressed people.
Until what? The 60s? It's funny that the Irish did not used to be considered... Like, the Irish and the Italians weren't really considered white until, the 60s. And, because they were treated like shit for a long time. But, yeah. And plus, their issues with England is very well documented in history books. As to English and Welsh descendants, we're probably not the most...
Yeah, we're super English. Like, all of the surnames in both sides of our family, it's like Hensley, Styles, Smith.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's any other
We
names.
have Smiths on both sides of our family,
Yeah,
that shows you.
Young,
Yeah,
Roach, is that British? That could be German.
I wouldn't know.
That name also came by marriage. So
Yeah.
anyway, our Ancestry.com results.
Yeah, we don't really have any Irish in us. Like, none, no, major threads of Irish. So, we're probably not the right people to be talking about this, but it is one of the staples of punk rock, I guess. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of people who are not Irish at all who go see Flogging Molly for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
I mean, and get wasted on green beers.
Yeah.
So,
Getting jacked on green beers. Alkaline Trio. I don't know. They're from Chicago, so I don't know.
Well, Dan's not Irish.
Yeah. You mean Andriano? That classic Irish last name?
I don't know what Skiba is.
It doesn't even sound like a real last name.
Yeah. Call me Matt Skiba. No.
What about...
Yeah, do it. It'll sound cool.
What about Mike Fiumley?
Falumley?
Falumley? I don't know what that last name is.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. So, this is a show we're using a number generator and the Rate Your Music Punk charts. We choose one album and one EP at random to discuss. And this week, instead of plugging in a specific year, we just put all-time Celtic punk into the charts. So, one thing I noticed when we did this is we only got 3 pages of results. And...
and like 5 bands.
Yeah. So, on the front page, the top 40 Celtic punk albums on Rate Your Music consists only of the Pogues, Flogging Molly, Dropkick Murphys. That is actually the top 10. It's just those 3 artists repeating.
Is only those 3.
Actually, the top 15.
Yeah,
are those 3 artists.
Shane McGowan.
Yeah.
And
then you get the Dreadnoughts. I'm not really familiar with them. They look like to be a combination of a lot of different things.
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's also the other gimmicky genre of punk called gypsy punk. And I know that's not the accepted term. It's Roma. But yet there's an entire genre that still gets called gypsy punk. So thanks, Gogol Bordello.
I mean, he actually is Roma, so...
Yeah, but
it's one of those things where it's like, if they call themselves that, it's okay, obviously.
Yeah, but I don't
there are a large... Well, there's a pretty substantial percentage of Roma people who identify as gypsy and not Roma. So, yeah. I don't know. It's
a problematic term.
I don't know if anyone in the Dreadnoughts are.
No, they're from Vancouver, British Columbia. They also are listed as sea shanties. So, the best polka and Balkan folk music. So that's continuing down. The next, I guess the most well-known band that we're not talking about today, that's not the Flogging Molly or the Pogues, is probably the Tossers. They were at a Victory Records Celtic punk band. It's basically whenever Flogging Molly got real big, Victory was like, we need one of those, and then signed them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you get the Real Mackenzies, who are not...
they're not Celtic.
They're Scottish. Well, doesn't Celtic actually cover some Scottish as well? They're not Irish.
Well, I don't know. I guess it does.
Yeah, I think it's considered... We should probably Google this.
Generally refers to the languages and respective cultures of Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Cornwall, the Isle of Man, and Brittany.
So you can be Celtic and not Irish. So that's fine, I guess. It's worth mentioning because our EP later it's not Irish either. So we'll save that for later though. Yeah, it's the same 6 bands on this front page over and over and over again. And then you get into bands you've never heard of, like Blood or Whiskey and the Rumjacks, which I think I've heard that name before. So I thought this was a deeper genre than it really is. And I'm pretty sure, if you went to any, Renaissance fair or, a Highland game type situation, you'll see so many self-described, Celtic punk bands playing who've just never recorded an album or they only just play traditional Celtic music as with punk song structures or distorted guitars. So I guess I assumed that we would see more of that kind of stuff, but it's surprisingly few. Or maybe it's just all out there and no one's rating them on this website. But anyway, this week we got number 10 on the album charts. And it is the Dropkick Murphys with their album Sing Loud, Sing Proud.
said this leader too is outnumbered thought. Fallen mighty soldier, and even while he plays all his tricks lessons left from Adam's thought. May your heart go bolder, like an iron never gate, said this leader too is outnumbered thought.
Fitting that our first attempt at a Celtic Punk episode would feature the Dropkick Murphys. In case we never do another one, at least we got the biggest one out of the way.
The biggest?
Now that's a good question.
I would say Flogging Molly is the bigger.
You think Flogging Molly is bigger than Dropkick Murphys?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I know people who aren't into punk who like Flogging Molly.
Yeah. There's also the same for Dropkick Murphys. They had songs in fucking what's that Scorsese movie?
I don't know.
The Departed.
There you go.
Going up to Boston, shipping up to Boston is in The Departed. So, Dropkick Murphys have a little bit bigger pop culture.
All of these, there's like 3 Flogging Molly records that are all ranked higher than Dropkick Murphys on the chart, and they all have more ratings.
There are, on Last FM, there are 1 million Dropkick Murphys listeners, and for Flogging Molly, there are 836,000. We could use the Spotify.
Dropkick Murphys are so big, then why have I never heard them before?
How have you never heard the Dropkick Murphys before?
In all fairness, probably entirely out of actively avoiding hearing the Dropkick Murphys.
Dropkick Murphys on Spotify have 2 million monthly listeners. How many do Flogging Molly have? Flogging Molly has... It's not loading for some reason. Why is it not giving me the numbers on there? It's that few, I guess. They have 15,000 monthly listeners. No, wait, that's just in Chicago, though. Why is it breaking it down by city? Oh, anyway. I'm pretty sure Dropkick Murphys are the most well-known. Well, then you got to think about the Pogues, though. The Pogues are probably the most well-known. Because they've been around the longest.
I don't know.
That Fairy Tale of New York is on everybody's Christmas playlist. Oh, well. Let's get some basics out of the way. Dropkick Murphys are from Boston, Massachusetts, in case you didn't know. Just listen to track 1 on this album. This band could not exist in any other city in the United States. They formed in 1996. This was released on February 6th, 2001 on Hellcat Records. So thanks a lot, Tim Armstrong. This is their 3rd album, and the person on this record is Al Barr on vocals, Ken Casey on bass and vocals, Matt Kelly on drums and bodhran, some kind of drum, James Lynch on guitar, Mark Orrell on guitar and accordion, Ryan Foltz on the mandolin, tin whistle, and dulcimer, and Spicy McHaggis on the bagpipes.
Yes.
And the album was produced by Ken Casey himself. So, did you like it?
Well, more than I expected to.
You know, same.
So, my... I mean, first track for Boston,
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
It's a hooligan chant. It's a cover, I guess, of the Boston College fight song. So it's like an actual thing that gets sung at sporting events.
Yeah. It gets sung at every Dropkick Murphys show.
It probably starts every Dropkick Murphys show. I've not even looked, but I bet it does.
Your smoke detector just went off.
It's my coffee maker. It beeps when it turns off.
It's fine. It's only a little fire. Yeah. I was expecting more of a flogging Molly situation. I was surprised at really the diversity among the songs here. There's a pretty big variety, and I think that like in one way, to some degree, I could criticize this record for the lack of consistency with the stated genre. But I don't necessarily want to criticize it for that, because the stuff I liked the best was the stuff that was like the least Celtic. And in all fairness, I just don't have enough interest in Celtic music. I mean, it's just not for me. Like, it's not because I think it's bad. I genuinely just don't think it's for me.
It's not.
So I preferred this stuff that is like much more straightforward punk. There's even like some surf
What?
and rock and roll influences, like
Yeah.
like some rockabilly-ness, which was kind of interesting. I don't know.
So the Dropkick Murphys are essentially like a half Boston street punk band and half Celtic punk band. Like, I expected bagpipes on every single song, and thankfully they are not.
Yeah, I don't like the bagpipe.
In general?
Yeah, just generally, it feels like, when I hear the bagpipe, it feels like one of the little scalp tickler things. It's just like an ice cube down your neck. I'm sorry.
I did not know you felt that way about the bagpipes. I like the bagpipes. I think it's a kind of a cool instrument. It's weird. It's weird how it even makes music. It's like you pump air into it, and it creates. You have to have this drone, but then you also have like this fluting action over here, and it's like it's a weird instrument, but it's kind of neat.
I mean, I think it's interesting. Like, the construction of it and the operation of it and the droning aspect of it, I think, is interesting. Like, I mean, it's similar to like the hurdy-gurdy, in terms of like your constant drone, and it's not very graceful in terms of like there's no glissando from notes to notes. Like, it's very strict staccato note changes. But there's something about the bagpipe specifically that just the timbre of it, I don't know, makes me itchy.
Now, what do you feel about the tin whistle?
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's a little shrill, but it's fine.
I feel like the tin whistle gets more playtime on this album than the bagpipes do.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, because it's more traditional Irish instrument than the bagpipes. Bagpipes tend to lean more Scottish. There's also a lot of mandolin on this record as well. There were times where I was listening to this and I was going, hey, this song does not have any bagpipes. And then, like, if you listen real close, you can hear some way in the background. So, like, even if it's on the song, it's not that prevalent, which is good, because if every single song had the over it, then it would have been unbearable to listen to this record. That being said, this album is way too long.
Well, it's 45 minutes.
That's like the maximum amount of time I have patience for a punk record. Actually, a record in general. I don't want to listen to anything longer than 40 minutes, usually. Sweet spot is 25 to 30 minutes long for me.
In the merry month of June, from my home I started, left the girls in town.
There are a couple just like Irish folk songs that you covered on here. There are 2 on here.
Okay. I wasn't sure if some of them sounded really traditional, so I was curious.
So like, it's the Rocky Road to Dublin is a traditional one.
I figured that one. That one was the most obvious, but
And what was the other one? I can't remember what the other one is. Maybe the Wild Rover. I'm not entirely sure. There's only 2. Yeah, there's only 2 traditional songs. There's a couple re-recorded songs. So like The Legend of Finn MacCumhail and Caps. What was that one called?
Caps and Bottles.
Caps and Bottles. Those are re-recorded versions of earlier Dropkick Murphys songs. So like there are 5 tracks on here that they didn't even have to write.
There's 16 tracks on this record. It's a long record.
Yeah. It was hard for me to get through. And one of the things that made it bearable to get through is when they would do something like, I don't know, like Ramble and Roll or The New American Way, which sounds like a 70s, like 77, almost like a ska song without horns in some parts.
Mm-hmm.
And then the big riffs would be like these 70s, like style guitar licks. And it's when they went full blown, we're Irish, here's the Irishness, that I'm like, oh my god. Like the last track, stupid spicy McHaggis jig.
It's not good.
It's a filthy song too. The lyrics.
Yeah.
I didn't notice any of the lyrics on any of the other songs except that one, and I was like, ugh, gross.
Some of the lyrics caught my attention. Not any particular lines, but as far as like the general themes of the songs, there's a lot of war songs, which I don't like.
They're a weird band. So I was looking into like kind of like where they do a ton of charity work. Like they do a lot of charity work, and they've done a lot of stuff for the troops, which I'm conflicted on that aspect, but they seem a little more pro-military than I appreciate. They're also they're more pro-cop than I would like.
Yeah.
There was an incident where like some teenager got arrested and shouted Dropkick Murphys as he was being arrested, and he was on video. And then like they sent the police station a bunch of Dropkick Murphys merch. It was weird.
Yeah.
But they're also super pro-union.
Yeah.
Like they do a ton of work for like unions and firefighters. So like I don't know, they're mostly on the right track.
Yeah. I mean, which side are you on? That's entirely just about unions.
Yeah. They're not.
There's one of the lines that's like, hold on, I gotta look it up. Interesting. It's kind of funny. I looked up which side are you on lyrics, and it pulls up a Pete Seeger song. So apparently it's a reference to it, because there's lines about Harlan County. You'll either be a union man or a thug for J.H. Blair. Yeah, it's actually I think it's actually a cover of a Pete Seeger song.
It may just be borrowing lines, because I didn't see anything. Though that would explain why it has a weird like country guitar rhythm to it.
Yeah, I mean it's listed on, if you go to that song's Wikipedia page, it's listed as another version. There's a lot of covers of that. some weird ones like Talib Kweli and Panopticon.
It's weird because it's not really like credited as a cover on the album. Strange.
Yeah, but there's a line. I love the line, "Will you be a lousy scab?" Just that was the line in particular that stuck out to me. Yeah, but there's a lot of like warrior, which I don't know, in terms of like if you're writing about Celtic opposition to Britain, I don't know. I guess that's kind of valid, but I think when you're an American band singing all these like pro-warrior songs, they're kind of weird, especially when this came out in 2001.
That may be why it's there, though. No, but it came out in earlier in the year, so 9/11 hadn't happened yet. So it came out in February. They were on the Rock Against Bush compilation. They're pretty anti-Republican. I think some like Republican senator or someone, or a governor, maybe it was Walker, used one of their songs at a rally, and then they were like, "You better not fucking play that song again, or we'll come beat you up with our hammers." I don't know.
Hammers. Shillelaghs?
Yeah. So yeah, they're punk. They get it for the most part. I mean, I don't know. They're from Boston. I mean, Boston has a distinct image. Not image. There's some traits that are pretty specific to like Boston punk in general that they kind of fit in with. I mean, they were brought on tour with the Mighty Mighty Bosstones on their Let's Face It tour in '97. So, and they kind of remind me of the Bosstones in a way that the Mighty Mighty Bosstones are a ska band, but not every song is a ska song, and they do that sort of street punk thing as well. So, yeah, Dropkick Murphys, I think, do this better than Flogging Molly does. Whereas Flogging Molly, it feels like a gimmick. Whereas with Dropkick Murphys, it feels like they just throw on some traditional instruments in a cover every once in a while. Whereas with Flogging Molly, they're singing songs about being fucking pirates.
There are some pirate lyrics on here, but it might be a traditional song. I'm not sure which one it was.
Yeah.
Yes. Every Flogging Molly record sounds like, or every Flogging Molly song sounds like it's supposed to be pirate punk. Dropkick Murphys have some versatility. There are a couple of, I think, really good songs on this record. I thought the Gauntlet was really good. I think it might be the best song on here. And you mentioned The New American Way. That one was really good. That kind of reminded me of like Toy Guitar and like Rocket from the Crypt a little bit. So kind of along the lines of what you were saying.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting one too, I thought, lyrically, from a lyrical standpoint. It's, from what I gathered, it seems to be about assimilation and feeling like you're losing your culture, which I think that's a particularly interesting theme to hear, especially in light of like current events and and treatment of Native people and Latino cultures. And so it's to think about that and apply that to Irish and Celtic culture. I think it gave me a little bit of compassion for wanting to hold on to that identity of being an Irish American, because there are people alive today who remember being called hateful slurs and refused service, who were Irish, who had the same skin tone as you and me. So
though also the Irish aren't completely innocent either when it comes to treatment of different people.
No, yeah, I mean, that's,
remember, they are white, so yeah,
yeah, I don't know. I would say that if it's, I would say that's a good song to try to bridge the gap for white racists. To be able to say, like, there are people who look like you who have experienced oppression.
Yeah.
You shouldn't need to do that, but
right.
Well, that's racism.
Yeah.
I shouldn't need to explain to you that it's bad, but unfortunately we do. So I would think we need every tool in our arsenal.
There's some interesting little behind-the-scenes things about this record. This album actually features guest vocals by Shane MacGowan from the Pogues. I wouldn't know it, because everybody sounds the same on this record.
Oh, maybe he's the one who... Which song was it?
I think it might be Which Side Are You On, but I can double check.
Because there was definitely someone with an accent on here somewhere. And I was like, are they... If they're doing fake accents, we can do fake accents. But if it's Shane MacGowan...
Let's see if I can find it. It says, just features collaborations with Shane MacGowan and Colin McFall of Cocksparrer. It doesn't say which one. The covers are The Rocky Road to Dublin and The Wild Rover, so I got those right.
Yeah.
I might have to go to Discogs to find which track Shane sings on. I didn't notice really an accent, though. If anything, I noticed a British or a Boston accent.
Yeah.
Because this is Boston as fuck.
We're gonna go to Dunkin' Donuts. We can make fun of the Boston accent all we want.
Good Rats. That's the one that Shane MacGowan's on. It's the one with mandolin on it. There it is. Written by Florence Reese. Which Side Are You On? Yeah, that's the... Yeah, okay. You're right. That's also a cover. I don't know why the Wikipedia does not have that actually listed as a cover. And as far as... So, this album also features guitar work from their previous guitarist, Rick Barton, on a couple tracks. He left the band early on in the recording of this record. And so then they brought in James Lynch from the Ducky Boys to replace him. And then they added another guitarist. I think they were a single guitar band before, but then they added Mark Orrell, who was 17 at the time, which is interesting. Sounds irresponsible, but and this is also the first record where Ryan Fultz and Spicy McHaggis were really part of the band, even though they're only on a couple tracks on this record. So I got the impression that they hadn't fully committed to the entire lineup being this band until after this record came out. And I don't know that they had like a regular bagpipe and tin whistle player with them when they played. I would assume they probably just like picked somebody to go on tour with them when they would play, but there wasn't like a full-time member. Like the Bosstones do that too, where they have like these extra horn players that aren't technically members of the band, but they play on the records occasionally. They maybe not tour. But yeah, it's they apparently made music videos for this album as well. I never did look up to see what they were.
Oh, I'm looking at my notes. I have a note here that says every song is a march. That was one of my bigger gripes. Probably more than the necessarily the overtly Celtic sounding songs. I think the more annoying thing was how often they would do the snare roll, like rat tat tat rat tat tat rat tat tat tat. Like, stop doing that. You don't have to do that on every song. They did it a lot, not every song, but it was frequent and it was annoying every time.
So I'm looking at the music video for the Gauntlet, which I was surprised that they made that the single, because it's not one of the more Celtic-y songs on the record. It's one of the better tracks on the record, which I guess that makes sense too. They were just like, what's the best song on the record? Well, that one.
Yeah.
But you think you'd pick one that'd be more representative of what they became known for? It's like a standard performance video with like flashes of black and white footage. Lead singer's got some greased back hair though. That's funny. Looks like your standard Hellcat music video from 2001, honestly.
Yeah.
And they did a video for the Spicy McHaggis jig. Of course they did. And that dude's not even in the band anymore.
Good.
He is only in it for a couple years and then he leaves. This is the one that was the more representative of the Celtic stuff. Also, is it the worst song on the record?
Spicy McHaggis?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I said that I enjoyed this record more than I expected to. Overall, I gloss over on a lot of it.
Well, it's because it's too long.
Yeah. There are too many songs that are completely forgettable. Like, I don't remember what they sounded like. But I do want to say, my favorite part of this record, I think, well, not this, but I do think that all of the vocalists on here sound good. Like, no one's voice really bothered me or anything. Like, they sounded pretty good. There's at least one vocalist who, and there are times where they remind me of like the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, and other times where they remind me of Against Me vocally.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
But I do think my favorite part of this record, the guitar tone is perfect. Like, it is great. It's this really like gritty, chimey, sort of clean, not super crunchy or distorted, just like a good loud amp, like a Vox or something like that. I thought it was really well dialed in guitar sound.
That's probably one of the standouts of the record.
And overall, the recording, the mixing, the mastering, like it all sounds right.
I
like
thought
it
was
all sounds good.
That it was self-produced, recorded, essentially.
Yeah, it doesn't sound low budget. It doesn't sound like, super Pro Tools, hi-fi, like something from 2001 could easily sound. But, I don't know. Overall, I'd give it a...
Yeah. Scale of 1 to 5, what would you give it?
I'd probably give it a 3.25.
I'm gonna put it right there at a 3. It's a little too long for my taste, and it's a little too Irish. No, I don't listen to Celtic punk for a reason. It's a little clowny to me. But it's fine. It's better than I thought it would be. I thought I was gonna be like gritting my teeth through this whole record, and at the worst that happens is I just kind of like glaze over and like stop paying attention to what's happening. But yeah, we can move into our EP then. So we got number 12 on the EP charts, and it is Flatfoot 56 with their EP I Believe It.
I believe in second chances, I believe in living as the time clock dances, I believe in throw your fear into the ocean, I believe it. Oh, it's hard to stop what's put in motion, I believe it. Hey!
Flatfoot 56 are from Chicago, Illinois, so the second city that a band like this could exist in.
Well, Flogging Molly is from L.A., so...
But the lead singer is from Ireland, so Dave King is from Ireland. I don't know about the rest of those members. One was a skateboarder.
Yeah.
But we'll save that after next year when we talk about Flogging Molly.
Right. We'll do Flogging Molly and the Pogues next year, and then we'll be done.
Yeah, we'll never do it ever again. And I'm fully aware that Flatfoot 56 are more of a Scottish punk band. So for St. Patrick's Day, it doesn't quite make sense to be talking about this band. They're still, as we discussed earlier, I guess it would still be considered Celtic punk, but we actually, I think when we drew the names originally, we drew the real Mackenzies first, and we're like, no, we can't do them, they're Scottish. They're not really Scottish, they're from Nova Scotia, or British Columbia, or one of the two. They're opposite sides of the country, but I can't remember which one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, St. Patrick is canonized in the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they're not Irish, so, we're kind of getting a pass. But we're just talking Celtic punk. So, this was a digital-only EP, and was released in May of 2012. So late. I believe it was meant to be like an EP in promotion of their 2012 album, Toil, which came out on paper and plastic later that year. In fact, the first track on here, I Believe It, is on that record. And then that record also features the last track, I'll Fly Away, which is a gospel song. That one I think is a full band version, whereas this is an acoustic version. So the only truly unique song on here is the middle track, Cotton Fields, and I need to figure out what that song is. Personnel on this record is Tobin Ballwinkle on guitar and vocals, Kyle Ballwinkle on bass, and Justin Ballwinkle on drums. I hope I said that right. It's Bawinkel. What else? How else would you say that? Eric McMahon on bagpipes and guitar, and Brandon Good on the mandolin. Okay. Flatfoot 56 are known as the Christian Celtic punk band. Yes, just like Ballydows. If you know your Christian punk, you'll get that reference.
Oh, I figured out what Cotton Fields is.
What is it?
It's a Leadbelly song.
Oh, so these Whitey Whites are singing Leadbelly, huh?
Well, CCR did it too, so...
Well, sure.
At least we know John Fogerty's not a Republican.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can say that about Flatfoot 56.
You never know with these Christian punk bands.
They strike me as the evangelical type.
Well, they're most famous for their cover of Amazing Grace. So that's why they covered I'll Fly Away on this record. Yeah, there's not too many Christian Celtic punk bands. Ballydows is probably the most well-known other one, and they're not even that well-known. That's going deep into your Christian punk knowledge, so if you're aware of the Jesus people and like their relationship to Christian punk, then I believe members of that group formed Ballydows, which was like a collective. It's a whole weird thing. Christian punk is weird.
Yeah.
And I know so much of it. Ugh.
Yeah.
What'd you think of this 3-song EP?
I didn't like it. I'm just going to say that.
Go ahead.
Yeah. It's... The title track is not great.
I believe it. It's the chorus, right?
Yeah. This was on paper and plastic.
Yeah.
So weird.
Paper and plastic. It's a weird label.
Yeah.
Isn't it like Less Than Jake people? Vinnie Fiorello?
Yeah, I think so.
They're one of those record labels you're like, yeah, that's a legit punk label, and then you look at what they've put out, and you're like, what? How?
The skulls.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They make, like, plastic skulls. Like, that's one of their second...
Say you believe in the crystal skulls.
This came out in 2012. What else did Paper and Plastic put out in 2012? What year's limited edition Plastic Skull did they release?
They're always at Fest.
Well, because they live there, don't they?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, in 2012, they also put out records by Red City Radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That makes sense. Junior Juggernaut. Russ Rankin. We Are the Union. Coffee Project. Foreign Tongues. Break Anchor. John Snodgrass. Yeah. You know, Aspiga. Larry and his Flask. Nightmares for a Week.
I've had a Spiga on my list to see at Fest probably like every year that they've played. I'm like, a Spiga. Never listened to them.
They put out a Pentimento album. It's like every band that plays Fest every single year that you're like, who's a fan of this band? Weirdly, Flatfoot 56 I don't think have played Fest. Though, I don't know. They probably...
Well, if the Huntingtons can, then...
Yeah.
Woof.
Here's another reference. Didn't lead singer of this band sound a lot like Ethan Luck?
Yeah, I guess that's the thing that I liked about them.
I liked their cover of I'll Fly Away, only because that's how it sounds at church, usually.
Do you like the false start intro?
Oh, no. They did it like they did false start it like multiple times.
Hey, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. One glad morning when this life is over. You know what? You're real. Keep cheating, Brandon.
Check. Hey. One glad morning
There we go.
when this life is over.
All right, let's try it again. Ready? Ready? Good.
I have an itch on my head.
All right, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. One glad morning when this life is over, I'll fly away to a home on the shore. I'll fly away. 2, 3, 4. I'll fly away. Oh, glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Just a few more. Just a few more weary days, and then I'll fly away to a land where trouble never ends. I'll fly away. I'll fly away.
No, we'll leave it in. It'll sound more real.
Like, it's a really easy song, guys.
The one guy I think started too high, and that's why they did that. It's like,
Just let him settle back down into it. It's fine.
he'll figure it out, like everybody in a church.
Like every person who ever sings this song.
That you start too high, and then you're like, ah, shit, and then you had to come back down.
Because you realize where you're going to have to go.
Yeah, that's where it's like it doesn't start high, but yeah, it gets there. You have to start lower than you normally would start a song. And this has been
Well, you're playing it with an acoustic guitar. You should know what key it's in.
G.
Find the note. Yeah, it's so forgettable.
I believe it. Did you know they did 2 theme songs for WWE wrestlers?
I don't get it.
They did a theme song for the wrestler Sheamus, so, you know, the giant Irishman. And for Johnny Curtis, for wrestling fans, will know him as Fandango. But, yeah, okay. It sounds like, you know, the way the song, I believe it starts, it sounds like a commercial for, like, the CW. That little man. It's, oh, is this, we're in the middle of Stomp Clap in 2012?
Right at the beginning of it, yeah.
The way that little mandolin in the intro starts, it's like, this feels like an ad for like a Carnival Cruise or something.
I was trying to remember. They were on Flickr Records.
Yes, that is their Christian gateway.
Yeah, that
Flickr
was,
Records.
So I guess when Flickr Records went under,
What if Flickr Records is still around?
then they found their way into,
A seed label?
yeah. What? Kyle Ballwinkle. Kyle Ball with the ball. While not touring and playing with Flatfoot 56, sings for hardcore side project Sexually Frustrated.
What?
Interesting.
Flickr Records still exists. Just thought you should know that.
Wow. What did they put out?
I don't know. Let's look at Discogs to find out. It's owned by the Audio Adrenaline, so...
Yeah, who was it?
I'm trying to think which Flickr records we owned. The last thing they put out was 2017, was 11D7, and they've done that band Fireflight. Which Flickr records do we own? Any?
Let's see. Let's look at the discography. I want to say Staple, Sub 7.
Staple. What was their deal?
They were new metal. I don't know. They were a hard rock band.
Yeah. Pillar. They put out the first Pillar album, the first one that you could get that was not self-released.
Yeah, we had the Flickr Records compilation.
Army. Army metal band. T-Bone. Remember T-Bone? He was a rapper. Okay. They did the original Fireproof pressing as well. Everyday Sunday. You had that CD.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Mortal Treason. Sub 7.
Yes. I was on the Sub 7 message board as a teen.
Yeah.
And I found out later that so was my wife. I think we kind of like missed each other. We might have overlapped a tiny bit, but I think she stopped being active kind of around the time that I started posting on that board. I was on the Staple message board as well.
Man, message boards.
Yeah.
I was on the Demon Hunter message board and the Roper board because the 5 Iron Frenzy board was too mean.
So mean. So was the Demon Hunter message board.
Yeah, but I was part
They
of the
were
mean
brutal.
stuff in there. DH is Wicca. God, this is like the most niche discussion we could possibly be having right now.
Yeah, it turns out there's very little to say about a Flatfoot 56 EP,
Yeah.
where 2 of the songs are covers.
Yeah, it's not good.
It gets better as it goes along.
Yeah. It's 'cause
I would say that their original material was the weakest.
I believe it.
I'm not going to knock a Lead Belly song.
Even if it's done poorly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I'll knock their version of it. Like, I can't even think of the CCR version.
It's probably not even well known.
Let me see which record that was on. It was on Willie and the Poor Boys, which apparently their version hit number 1 in Mexico in 1970.
What?
I don't know why.
Weird. Scale of 1 to 5. What do you give this?
2.
Yeah, that's how I feel. 2.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
It's competent,
Yeah.
but it's not good. Okay, now for our wrap-up question. You get into a time machine and go to the year 2001 to see Dropkick Murphys, or 2012 to see Flatfoot 56. Which would you choose?
Dropkick Murphys.
Yeah, hands down.
Yeah, just no doubt. I mean, there's just like.
Yeah, I don't think I would even go to see Flatfoot 56 in 2001. Like,
Can I go to 2012 and see Bruce Springsteen sing with Dropkick Murphys? When is that when he did that?
Yeah, I don't know when that
It
was.
seems right. Sometime in the 2000s.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would
Or
even
the
see
2010s, whatever. Yeah.
I would see Dropkick Murphys in 2012. I would see Dropkick Murphys in 2001. I would see Dropkick Murphys in 2020. Like, I would pick them over Flatfoot 56 no matter what year it is. Maybe if a Flatfoot 56 show was at a Cornerstone festival that I really wanted to see.
Yeah, but you're not gonna see
No, that's...
Flatfoot 56. You have options.
Yeah. So that's the rule. You have to stay and watch their entire set. So, and you don't get to see any of the openers. That'll I shouldn't make that a rule going forward. Because you can always be like, well, I'd rather go see this show at this time because there's a good chance that the openers will be really good too. So
Yeah, it can't be like, well, Ethan Luck is playing with Flatfoot 56. Like,
I'm sorry, I would still rather go see Dropkick Murphys. I mean, I feel like that crowd is just gonna be more fun.
my wife saw Flatfoot 56.
Oh, good.
I want to say at some point with her church friends.
That's the only way anybody sees Flatfoot 56.
We're gonna go see Flatfoot 56. Why? Why are you gonna spend your money on that?
Because our parents won't let us go see Flogging Molly. You know, the dangerous band Flogging Molly.
I don't want to see Dropkick Murphys on St. Patrick's Day, though.
No.
I don't want to go to that show. I don't want to see any Celtic punk band
In
on
Boston.
on St. Patrick's Day. I don't want to die.
What are the Boston?
I had a hard time watching Hot Snakes last night in Phoenix on a normal Thursday night. How long have we been going? Do I want to tag on this story?
Go for it.
So, people would not stand still. He's walking back and forth to the bar. I'll tell you the short version. I got pretty close to the stage. You know, it was probably like 3-4 people away. Everyone was pretty, throughout most of Hot Snakes, everyone was pretty, relaxed, not like moving around a whole lot, bobbing their heads. And there was a guy in front of me, just a short, stocky, big guy who was probably like the most animated out of everyone in the crowd close to the stage where I was. But he wasn't like bumping into people or moshing or anything like that. But at some point, towards the end of the show, this woman comes up and she's like staggering drunk. She like hugs someone who's in front of me. It seems like they knew each other, and she's standing next to them for like a song. And then like one of the they play one of these faster songs, and it's not like necessarily one of my favorite Hot Snake songs, but the stocky guy gets real into it. Like, he loves this one, I guess. And he kind of like bumps into people a little bit more, and like, but not even like excessively. It's just kind of like, cool, that's your jam. But for some reason, the drunk woman who appeared out of nowhere, like, I guess took offense to that. And she starts like patting him on the back, just like repeatedly. She won't stop patting him on the back. And he's kind of like turns and looks at her, and he's like, he does the thing that you do when someone's touching you and you don't want them to. And he just like kind of like pushes her away, like, you know, not like super aggressively, just like, hey, stop. And she keeps doing it. She keeps patting him, and he just kind of like pushes her some more. And like that song ends, and then the next song starts, and she moves up into his like peripheral vision, like next to him, and starts like flipping him off and pushing him. And then she keeps pushing him, and then she starts shoving people in front of him. So she like pushes the couple that she like was, I guess, knew in front of him. And then like keeps grabbing all these different people and shoving them towards the front. And everyone's like, what are you doing? All right, I'll stand here. So he finally just gets mad and like storms off. And then she just keeps pushing people. And she's moving all around through the crowd. And then she goes over, she's like out of sight somewhere, I guess still doing this thing where she's pushing people towards the front for some reason. And then like her and this other guy seem to get into it. And I guess it was just another person who was like, hey, stop shoving me. And like between songs, John Reese goes over there and he's like, hey, everybody be nice. Like, what's going on over here? He's like, what's going on? And she's like, he's not being nice. And he's like, why aren't you being nice? And the guy's like, I didn't hear what the guy said. And he's like, you touched his lid? Like, I guess she messed with his hat.
Yeah.
And it was just this weird, like, episode of, like, Mari. Like, John Reese trying to mediate between this drunk woman and this guy who's just standing there.
You know, it's weird. When I saw Hot Snakes last year, it was a weird crowd. That was the one with the gigantic guy who reached halfway across the stage like the entire night. So like John Reese had to stay on one side of the stage to stay away from this like long-armed like drunk dude laying across the stage the whole time. Hot Snakes shows, I guess, attract a weird audience, but
yeah. Desert trash.
Yeah,
that was
even when they're not in the desert.
A pretty big percentage of the crowd.
So next week we were talking about the year 1999, and we got number 2 on the album charts, and it is Orchid, Chaos Is Me, and our EP for that episode is number 16, and it is Envy, Angel's Curse Whispered in the Edge of Despair. So a double dose of Screamo.
Yes, the Scrams of March, as I have dubbed it.
Not a thing.
It's whatever. What are the Ides of March?
It's a Shakespeare thing, isn't it? Or like Caesar got stabbed?
It's the 15th.
Remember the 5th of March. Continue to follow us on all forms of social media. We're at Punk Lotto Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We have a phone number. You can leave us a voicemail. It's 202-688-PUNK. And our email address is punklotopod@gmail.com. We have a website. It's punklotopod.simplecast.fm. Or actually, .com. I think it changed. It used to say FM, and now it just auto-corrects to .com. Yep, that'll do it this week. Give us a rating, a review, and subscribe on iTunes and Spotify and, Podbean. I don't know what else there is out there. But
some weird Russian site that like skims podcasts.
Yeah.
Off of other services. I don't know.
But yep, that'll do it for this week.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you're seeing is a total disregard for the things St. Patrick's Day stands for. All this drinking, violence, destruction of property. Are these the things we think of when we think of the Irish?